That on there. All right, might have to do a little bit of extra glaubage on this to get things to sort of fit where I want them to. Okay. I'm having to work quickly because there's a lot of this, and when there's a lot, it tends to start kicking off a little bit faster, so I sort of need to get this stuff situated quickly. All right. Not enough to really cover that area. It's fine. It's fine. All right. To hell with you and your snapped. Yeah, exactly. Potential 100K view video if I manage to get these. I don't think you'd have that many, but you definitely would get a good chunk if you can get a hold of them. But that's what I mean. Is like, if you're able to get a hold of them and you can answer those questions, if you become the person that people can turn to and say, hey, what do you know about this? How did you get it? Where did it come from? Do you know the person that got it? Like, if you sort of are the one that has all those answers, you kind of become the guru, or you're the person that everybody can sort of rely on for that information. And that can come from doing that. I mean, yeah, sure. It's sort of like, well, that's, you know, you're withholding information. It's like, no, but like, if you really like to collect, sometimes you have to take that liberty to do that, unfortunately, as much as it sounds, because it's that rare. Like, there's nothing else you can do. But yeah. Getting Area 51 raid now? I know, right? Okay, so again, it was very important that I put these together, and I can feel the heat building up, so I need these to just set for a bit and hold it together. Because these are... She's going to wait till last day. Most people will. You can put the proxy bid to where it's like, I will bid up to X amount of dollars on it. But yeah, that you always have to worry about people trying to get into bid wars with you. And especially on the last day. 10 days is a lot. Dory, oh, yeah. Here's your problem with it, General. The moment you share to anybody, there are people like Dorian who will also know where to find this stuff. Yeah, that is one of the downsides with actually sharing that information is there are people who know how to find it. Because they'll start perusing all of the typical places. Yeah, again, the real lesson here is sometimes being first or wanting to talk about it right away, especially if you're trying to like sneakily get a hold of it, you can't say anything. You have to learn to hold your tongue on it if you want to do that. People like me. Yeah, people like you. It's a good example though. Like you have to think of it of like if somebody shared a link of something like that and you wanted to get a hold of it, are you going to stop and think that, well, they didn't share the link, I don't know where it is? No, you're going to go check. And there's very typical places that you would say, oh, I bet it's over here. I'm going to check here first. I'm going to type in this information. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And you're going to go down that list of things. I'm that kind of person. I did stuff like that too. But I mean, obviously, like we run he shared it in oh, of course. That's what I mean. The moment that if you really want to get something that is very hard to get a hold of or something that is potentially quite rare, sometimes you have to just remain quiet. Bid on it in hopes that you can get it. I didn't tell people that I was bidding on something on Goodwill, shopgoodwill.com. And I bid on it. And you know what I got? I got one of those select, I got a rare cage, old flywheel, like older flywheels that are hard to get. I also got the select fire kits, which are no longer available, all of this stuff, and a worker body kit. And I bought the whole set with all these other blasters. I bought the whole thing for the same cost that worker body kit would have costed. I got all of that. I didn't go telling people that I was bidding on this thing. I didn't let anybody know. I didn't truly know what was going to be in it. So I just took a chance to try to get something because there might have been something good. And I was right because I got all this really cool stuff. Yeah, you have to sort of take that into account. If you want it yourself, you got to learn to sort of just hold your tongue for a little while and then tell people what you found. Because you're, especially when you talk about like, you know, you're in a position where these people have disposable income and a lot of time. And that's the big thing, right? Like, if you're trying to go up against people who are like that, you're already setting yourself up for a losing battle. That's sort of the being thrifty or understanding how to acquire things. Understanding how to acquire things sometimes is literally you having to be kind of just quiet, unfortunately. As kind of sucky as that is. Because you're like, hey, I'm looking to get this thing. Sometimes you say that and you'll be like trotting down all happy to go buy it. And because you posted it out loud, somebody's like speeding on the highway and they're already on the way while you're sitting there trotting to the cars, just jingling your keys, thinking you're going to go get something. Literally happens like that, man. People will absolutely be quiet is the only thing you have. Yeah, being quiet is sometimes the only thing you have when it comes to getting a cool thing or a cool deal. You know, if you're very open about it, unfortunately, there are people who will try to like beat you to the punch or send an email before you or make a bid before you, and they, you know, like the more and more and more, and they are cutthroat. People are really cutthroat like that. Honestly, it's not decent behavior. If I found something and I'm interested, others shouldn't snatch it away. Yeah, and you're right. And that's what really sucks. It's kind of a sucky thing that you have to do that in the first place. It really is. Like, if I'm excited and I want to go pick up this thing and I'm saying I'm going to go do it, or I'm saying I'm going to have that, the fact that people will plot or try to like come up with a way to get it themselves before you do is really that is kind of gross, right? That's a really gross behavior. But you have to always kind of assume that there is somebody who's going to try to do that to you. And sometimes you have to go get it. I could just delete the thread. You could. the cat's out of the bag at this point. You know, if Dorian's already got it and he's sharing it across a bunch of places, it kind of doesn't matter at this point. I would state that's a really, it's just a like I said, the person that General's talking about is like really, really big into the hobby, has been in this hobby for like, you know, over a decade. And the moment that he has this information, like he's a historian kind of guy, knows all kinds of crazy stuff of like where all of this stuff happened. And so once somebody like that gets a hold of it, it's out of the bag at that point. It's too late. That's what I mean about like sometimes you have to just remain quiet, because it's also a gamble. You don't know what it actually is. It could just be trash, right? Somebody could have just found a foam that's very similar and just made their own, or it could be an off brand. It could not actually be Nerf. I don't know. The pictures don't really show much. The foam looks similar, but we don't know anything else beyond that. So we'll find out. Hopefully, we'll find out who got a hold of it. We'll find out. I want to reach out to the buyer and see if we can't figure out more details about it. Still a little bit warm, so it's still kicking off a bit. But yeah, that's kind of what I mean, is like, it sucks that you have to, but yeah, that's just how it is. I have had people that were my friends who did that to me, to be honest. Like Grim's one of them. Jerk. God, how could you, Grim? Only Grim has that one, dead man. We're letting the DevCon or Permatex. Yeah, that's what a personal sound alert does for you, baby. Yeah, like I said, it sucks. It is kind of gross that some people are like that, but I've had people who were actual friends do that type of stuff to me before, where I'm talking about something and when I'm like ready to go get it, they've already went and bought it under me, like out from under me. Like I have a huge trust thing when it comes to that, where I just don't trust people aren't going to try to do that to me. Very expensive foam peens. Yeah. Cat's out of the bag. I found unreleased Yellow Mega XL. It's true. It is, General. Cat's out of the bag. You messed up, General. The power of telling people about a thing they're interested into. Yeah. That is the thing, right? Like, they're also just as interested. But if you kind of want to have the thing, well, that makes it different. That's kind of like pre-ordering, right? If you talk about like a limited run on something, and you know, you let a group of 5,000 people know that only 100 of these items are going to be made, you know, what happens, right? A lot of those people will like set up bots or set up in a way to try to get as many of them as they can, more than one, so they can turn around and sell it. Because people do kind of have that disgusting behavior of trying to flip. And, you know, that's the unfortunate reality of some individuals. I hate cleaning 3D printed parts, especially unfriendly ones. Not pretty. Yeah, dude. Cleaning up printed parts always is a chore. All right, so this is still setting, but I think that the parts are good now. I feel so defeated. I'm sorry, General. That's why I was trying to warn you. Like, oh, General, you're gonna learn a really hard lesson today. Oh man, that's why I was trying to give you that bit of a warning. Like, you gonna learn today. Yeah, it's just one of those sort of unfortunate things And you have to sometimes just learn it the hard way. Like, that's all that is. Just learning, like, if you really need, or if you really are interested or passionate about this particular thing, especially if you're like if you're trying to collect or you want to have a really complete collection of something, that is sort of a reality. Sometimes you need to just hold off until you actually get it in hand, or you can, guarantee that you're acquiring it, then do it. We've seen some people till they trying to shut the fuck. It happens though, dude. It really does. As a matter of fact, like, an interesting thing, somebody tried talking about how they were able to get a hold of one of the gold. Do you remember the person who was talking about that? I haven't seen them in months ever since, but they were trying to tell everybody they found the gold MK4 and they were able to buy it and they got it for a super cheap deal. And they said, I'm going to do a video on it. And they had all this information. They were really like just boasting about what they were going to do. Funniest thing is they then went silent and then never did anything about it. And the only time that I think they stated they got it off eBay, and people went to eBay and they're like, the only one that's ever even, there's only one on eBay. None have sold off of eBay. Like, there's clearly no listings that have of one, because you can see previous sales. And then there was nothing like that. And people started calling them out on it. And then they had to they kind of just vanished, which was a shame. But like, it's the same concept. If they were talking about this really cheap thing and they were bragging to everybody about how cheap they got it, what people don't realize is that some individuals will take their time. Like, let's say I bought something from eBay, right? And I found this seller and they were selling an item that should be worth hundreds of dollars. And I had bid on it and nobody noticed it for some miraculous reason. And I got it for nothing but $10. And I was bragging and bragging and bragging and telling everybody how I'm going to get all these things. Somebody would have probably reached out and emailed that seller and said, if you cancel the sale, I will buy it from you for $200 right now. And all of a sudden, the person who was bragging that they got it for so cheap, all of a sudden the seller cancels the sale, takes the hit, and then sells it to somebody else because the absolute thing about getting the extra money is worth more to them. And the person who was so excited is now defeated because somebody was willing to take that extra step and reach out and say, I'll give you X amount of dollars. I'll give you more. I want this thing more than they do. And I'll make it worth your while. And people have done that. It's crazy that, yes, people absolutely will do that. So that's kind of what I mean is, like, there's a lesson in this about, like, be excited for yourself and be excited once you've received it, because you haven't actually gotten it yet. Once you get it in hand, then it's totally like, absolutely be excited all you want. Tell everybody, tell you how you got it. Tell them how cheap you got it. Tell them whatever. Like, that's awesome. But there's a bit of a lesson in that, in just learning that sometimes people kind of suck. It's also the same as doing the thing in your brain. Don't say shit before you actually do it. Yes. Otherwise, all the motivation leaves you. Exactly. Don't tell them what you're going to do. Start doing it and tell them what you're trying to do, right? There's a huge difference between the two, because if you say that you're going to do something and you never actually do it, you've already defeated yourself. And, there's kind of an unfortunate reality there. And it happens the same thing with trying to acquire things as well. Like, especially if you're passionate about collecting something, right? Checklist of next time, get stuff first. Ask Vile first. If it's not worth it, set up an alt eBay account and share info so you can get huge gains. True. How about if General makes those darts themselves and share another thread and say, I have already got it, the seller, and it's fake? Oh, see, Link's coming up with big brand ideas here. Link coming out with that freaking 5-head idea. Oh, man, that's great. That's funny. Savage. I know. Link out here with the savage ideas. But yeah, again, don't beat yourself up about it. Like, for me, I was having fun, right? I was poking fun. I was joking about it. But it is a bit of a lesson. Like, hey, man, hold on a second before you go doing it. especially if you're a collector of darts, because you especially are, right? So if you find special ammo, as excited as you are, try to acquire them yourself and then share your findings and your information. I think that is a better idea for you, especially. Because if you're the only one that has it and you can explain the story as to how you got them, where you got them, so on and so forth, and now you've got it, especially to help complete your collection, now you've got like a really good thing. And it's a hard lesson to learn, but you know what? It's fine. It'll be okay. Right in the nasty business, might as well just go a step further. No, true, right? Just gotta, it's doubling down. You got to make sure that you're worse than the person who's trying to be bad, right? You got to be worse than them. Be like, I'll go even further. I'm gonna be terrible. Exactly. See. Yeah, I'm a bit worried of what's going to happen and who's going to try to acquire it, because again, there's a lot of individuals who are big collectors and have a lot of disposable income or are willing to throw income at it. So I'm a bit worried on that sense, because some of those people will just put it into a pile somewhere and never talk about it. That's my biggest problem, right? Is sometimes collectors and people who have really big collections will sometimes get these extremely rare things. And for them, the joy is just knowing that they own it, not doing anything with it, right? Or even explaining or talking about it, or, you know, expanding upon the lore or expanding upon the history or any of that stuff. They buy it and they put it somewhere and then it just sits there. And that's sort of an unfortunate reality about it. That's called hoarding. It is, to an extent. It really is. But like, you can say that about Walcom, right? Walcom has a ton of stuff. There's no way that Walcom is enjoying all that stuff, but he collects it, and the joy of knowing that he has it is part of it, right? He just wants to have a complete micro collection or whatever it is, right? The Nerf Curator. These people have full like storage units that are just filled to the brim with boxes and blasters just in like trash cans and stuff. And these are supposed to be like blasters that are like, might be considered rare or might be difficult to have acquired or might be whatever. And they just hold on to them. I mean, I have a lot of stuff, but like I have stuff because I want to pull it in here to cut it up and do stuff with, right? I get one or two of each, but what do you call having 15 stripes? Hey, you're calling me out here, Domo. Why are you calling me out like that? That's called being prepared for when I need to cut up something 16 times, okay? Yeah, KT too. Well, like KT does actually try to use his stuff. KT will actually bring a lot of times fun or goofy loadouts to events. So like it's not really the same. And KT's actually tried to cut back on like how much he has. I'm in the same. I have a bin of stuff I do want to eventually get rid of. Giant to the showcase. Well, yeah, that's the same thing too, right? Like, but his are mostly based not on like rare blasters, but blasters that were from creators in the hobby. His, like, KT wants the sort of museum of creations, you know, stuff from Gopher, the stuff that was made by Captain Slug. I mean, he has Captain Slug's original printer. That's really cool because a lot of Slug's designs really shaped a lot of the hobby, which isn't it. I like that idea. That's a little bit different. And they're not really sitting around like just collecting dust in a storage unit. He uses them in the backgrounds of the videos. He takes them to these events. So that way, again, other people can get a chance to hold them, try them out, you know, actually see them in person, because seeing them in photos is one thing, but actually getting a chance to hold it and use it, that's a totally different story. You're also the type of person who saves items in video games so he can use them in a sequel. Not in a sequel. You just never know when you're going to need 150 cheese wheels, okay? Maybe it's a really big battle. I don't know. Sitting at 550? Yep. Oh, General, no. I knew it was going to... The moment that it kind of got out there, I knew for a fact it was going to start blowing up and people were going to start throwing bids on it. I knew for a fact that was going to start happening. God, I hate cutoff wheels so much. It's the only real way to cut this, though, to get the kind of cut that I'm looking for. What's up, General? Are you like kicking yourself right now? This is gonna haunt me for a long time, I swear. Dude, it's one of the, don't beat yourself up about it. It is a lesson to learn, though. It's a kind of a hard lesson to learn, because you want to feel that, you know, it was a good thing of what you did, and there's nothing wrong. You bring a lot of information to people when you find it, and that's awesome. But sometimes, you know, especially if you yourself want to like acquire something kind of cool, sometimes you gotta pick and choose when you want to share it or when it's important. It's like asking yourself a question before you decide to share something like that. You have to ask, like, do you want a bus? But you have to ask yourself, like, do I want this thing? Is there only one available, or is there only a handful of them available? Should I get it before I start sharing it? You know, you kind of have to do that. I don't even know what we were talking about. What up, Neo? How you doing, man? Yeah, don't beat yourself up, dude. It's really like, it's just sort of the reality of it. I hate you, Grim. I want a bus. I want a bus. All right, we're very close. There's a couple of spots that are a little bit thicker that I still have to kind of get all the way through. I need that listen command IRL. Yeah, I know, right? You just need it on like a keychain where you press the button and it just is a little speaker that just says that out loud. Tell me the whole thing. I wasn't listening. Sitting on a massive video. I think you would have at least gotten some decent views with it, especially if it was a rare thing. But I wouldn't think of it about that either, right? Like, again, don't worry about that. Already at 26 bucks? Yep. Uh-huh. What I was saying. That's what happens. There are people with a lot of disposable income within this hobby who are big collectors, and they are willing to spend a decent chunk of change